What are we doing? Do I get to ask that? Do I get to ask any questions?
You can ask James whatever you want.
Have I lost my mic?
No?
That's right.
Still there.
I might have tried to do that. I just
Can we
tapped
turn
it.
this off anyway? Trade associations should be doing more to help SMEs automate.
Backbone. Yeah.
Nah, I can't be bothered, mate. There's no corporate hospitality in it. I agree.
We don't need a robot. So we must not need automation, where there could be a lot of other things that actually would help them a lot get through what they need, so again, they don't think they need it.
What's the closest you've ever come to quitting?
Every day is hard on every front. I would not advise you to do what I'm doing.
This is Manufacturing Uncensored, brought to you by the PPMA Show 2026.
Today we're talking about robot adoption, entrepreneurship, and why UK manufacturing still struggles to adopt automation. Right, let's get straight into it. Why is the UK still so bad at adopting robots?
I think the industry in the UK has been working for a very long time. And when something works, you don't fix it. And the problem is that it's been incremental changes over decades of lost opportunities and outsourcing and then coming back, and we're at a point where it's a big drop now. And so the problem is that where they need to get to compete with even European brands and European manufacturers it's a big investment, and because that hasn't been done incrementally as the incremental drop-offs have come. And so I think we take pride in our handmade products and our premium level of kit. And so I think that sort of pride as well comes with a level of resistance to changing the way we do things.
For people listening or watching that don't recognise you or your voice.
Yeah. Well, he recognises himself in the shit out of the world, doesn't he? It's like, I'm here, I'm there. How many selfies you done this morning?
Just one in the parking lot.
You do one in the parking lot?
You do back car park, front car park?
Back, yeah. I was like,
no branding in it.
No branding. So Jesus Christ! So I've signed off for 6-figure sum to do up this office. And
I'll be doing it on the way out.
You've selfied in the back car park by the skip. That's SEO optimisation for the skip business going right through the wall, wasn't it? Fantastic. Well, great to have you on, Peter. I mean,
come on, I had to get the car in it, right? It's got to promote. So whatever it is.
So who are you? How did you get to this position?
So my name is Peter Shafe. I run OmnaTec Limited. We are an automation company, and although some things have been said about robots and my desire to do more with them, we really are a very old school style of automation integrator, in that we take a very lean approach. So we look at process optimization and try to make sure that whatever you are looking at to automate or improve is the right process. And if you don't need a robot, I will not even talk to you about a robot. It's about making sure that when we get finished with a project, that you are more productive or have more capacity or whatever it needs to be to push your business into the next level. We are aimed at SMEs, and the SMEs that we work with, they are just looking to grow, right? They're not looking to do anything else other than make more of their product, sell more of their product, and make it better, faster. And that's really what we're aimed at. And sometimes that is a robot. Sometimes it's a bit of what I'd call more traditional automation, PLC programs, semi-automation. And sometimes it's a bit of, TOC or lean, something to just rearrange their setup and get them working more effectively. So that's kind of where we've come from. I've come from a variety of backgrounds through oil and gas and manufacturing, and we ended up in this place where I was at a company where we were selling tools, hand tools, into UK manufacturers, and they used our tools because they were a very slight improvement over the spanner they were using before. But it was all manual processes in the same way they'd done it for the last 60 years. And we were a manufacturer the same way we had done it for the last 60 years. And I basically spent the last 2-3 years I was there designing, building, commissioning, maintaining automated rigs for the production department.
And still taking selfies.
And still, I was in charge of the Instagram there as well.
Okay.
So yes, let me tell you, many hats. Yeah. So yeah, the thing is that I think engineering's exciting, and how things get made is exciting, right? And so for me, it's like, oh, click, yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, I think it's those types of manufacturers, I love getting to go into people who are making things and seeing how they put it together. And it's so yeah. And now it's worked its way over now into helping other people do the same sort of thing.
He said something very interesting. Your question, I'll take your script off, I'll take control.
That's what I'm going to say now.
All right, let's have a look. Oh, Jesus. All right, I'm so close to being bifocals. That's what happens when you get into your mid-40s.
Late 40s.
Late 40s, Robots is the wrong word. So why is the UK so bad at selling robots? Because we use the term robots. And what he said automated integrated solutions or something like that. I wasn't quite listening. I was trying to think what my first question was, but and there is a fear, and we've been too late. And we can. How many podcasts do I talk about the British Leyland strikes in the 1970s that set the culture and stuff like that? Robots are fantastic to peddle how to improve a manufacturing process. They're basically going on a date with a girl for the first time, and you put all the effort in, but sadly you still smell of curry from lunch, and all she can remember is curry. Right. So for most manufacturing people, they come in and if Peter goes, look, I can look at this solution, I can look at this automated solution, and we can find a way out. Peter smells of expensive cologne. Right? If he just goes robot. Smells of curry.
I was waiting for that.
Right? And that's the thing, right? And this is where we are really bad. And I rant about it all the time. And we get, the more we pitch robot against people and go robot. I mean, how close is there to somebody putting an advert out saying robots don't have sick relatives? It just gets worse, right?
Sick relatives.
Well, it's true, isn't it? Because we chart robot versus people.
Yeah.
And what you've said is interesting. Robots will be the predominant feature of most things that get manufactured, because the cobots have changed the world, flex pickers have changed the world. So rather than having a cam picking and placing something, a tissue, a car component, a biscuit, right? A flex picker is come in cost, it's reliable as hell, and you can have one on shelf. And the most important thing is you plug and play and you get it back sorted in 30 minutes rather than 2 days. But at some point, like he's just said, appropriate automation. Never overlook a conveyor with an inverter. Never overlook that rather than it being on a load of solenoid valves fitting a little Rockwell Siemens PLC. Robots are not the headline. Robots are one of the fundamental ingredients. The headline is integrated automation. And that's where he just summed it up quite well.
The hard part, though, is the measuring. The reason that robots, I think, get thrown out is A, they're flashy.
Yeah.
I mean, when I've had a robot on a stand, you get people stop, right? And I could maybe have a bit of, linear motion doing something else, and maybe you'd get the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. And I think that the spec that's, or the data that's brought out every year of the robots per 1,000 workers or whatever. Every year it comes out, and every year you can see the UK doesn't even show up on the top 25 or whatever, right? Yeah. We're still 27 or something. Is that the right metric? You'd argue no, but you'd say that robots are a component of the total solution, so maybe it is a good metric. But if that's what you're pushing, whatever you're measuring, that's what you're going to try to push more of. So you get this situation where it's an easy thing to see, it's an easy thing to measure, it becomes the thing that you care about.
We need to change the metric. Because the other thing is why I don't really care about the industrial automation landscape in Finland. Right, so we pitch ourselves against it. I don't.
Yeah. Well, other than that, what can we learn? I mean, we're
what you can learn.
What
I
can we
agree
learn
with
from
what
it,
you
right?
what you can learn in terms of what systems are working.
Exactly.
And if I think about what we do, which is a bit of everything. You know, we occasionally have a robot, don't quite know what we're doing with it, but you know, I have a piece of equipment that has every form of engineering in it. And definitely, if you use some of the things we learned in other markets about how you use the technology, is fine. And likewise, one thing I would say that we've been really good at in feeding into other parts of the world is how to make the technology user-friendly. So you don't need a PhD to run the bloody thing, right? But the metric is robot by however hundred many people. Again, I come back, it's the wrong metric, and also robot versus people, yet again. What we ought to be looking is at how many automated solutions have been put in per person. It's a conversation I have here, actually. I had it as recently as in this room last Thursday, is that when we get end user membership on, we need to be looking at that ratio. Because, you know...
the problem is, how do you measure an automated solution? Because it could be anything from putting a camera in a existing machine.
You measure all of them.
Yeah.
So it's every
And how you
project.
track
in
it.
the-
Every project.
in
I
the
mean,
UK.
It's hard to track, though.
But
That's
it's
the
not.
problem.
Well, it's not for me because I am it. I mean, I don't mean to be. Don't tell you I'm a big
Yes, you
deal.
do.
I have many leather-bound books, but we can track that here. We can track that here, and apparently we're supposed to represent all of them, so we can then track it, put it on a pie chart, and flip it out. So that's my view.
Yeah, but then you're going to track the component manufacturers that say that they're doing an industrial automation solution by selling a component.
No, we just.
And then
do,
you're going to track every project.
No.
that
You
people like
you
do.
just do full members. So we have full members and we have affiliate members. So full members either build a thing or sell a full thing or maintain and support a full thing, right? Affiliate members would be, are the biggest members, but they are the sensor guys. They're the servo guys. They're the PLC guys. So you take that stat out. And also, what you would also do as well is that the other thing is as well, you can skew your numbers. So sometimes I'm told that the German robot figure 1 year since COVID was abnormally high, but it was actually that they tweaked the numbers because they were just replacing them on a car line. So a car line, I don't know what manufacturer it was. It wasn't a new project. It was that they were a tie and they needed new ones. So you could do it like that, and we have to, right? Because Peters just says something very interesting. I think we need to drop. I like the word robot, right? And robot is the coolest thing. That means we get involved in government and stuff like that. But when you're actually talking to the punters, it is, here is my solution, and it may involve a robot. And for sure, you put a robot on your stand doing something cool, right? But yeah,
Always.
So from now on, you're not a robot integrator, Peter.
No, that's it. Well, I've already gotten rid of Cobot, right? That's been so robot. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
it.
let's not go into Cobot.
Yeah.
no,
Do you fancy another rant on Cobot?
I think Cobots change the world.
Really?
Yeah, I honestly think Cobots have changed the world. I honestly think Cobots, forget about the mechanics of it, means that he can be successful because they came in and they were disruptive and they worked as a community. So you had a situation about 10, 15 years ago with the big industrial robot companies that they were almost Luddites, even though they had the new technology, right? And it has to be caged, you can't do this, you can't do that. I've ranted at you many times about when I was looking at a robotic assembly to one of the biggest automation opportunities in this country at the moment is presented by Aldi, not by Aldi. And the reason for that is that Aldi are an absolute explosion in this country, as we all know. We all shop there, we shop at Lidl. But they...
Well, we do. You're like Waitrose and M&S, aren't you?
Fortnum and Mason. But unless it's Sunday, in which case, I just artisanal. Butchers and bakers.
Sure, that's 2 podcasts now you've worded things with... I'm not even going to repeat it.
I was proper panicked
Because
about
we
that.
had censored the last
Yeah,
one.
we had to censor the last one.
Yikes.
And the reason for that, their biggest automation opportunity is that any pallet that goes into an Aldi never has the same product contained on the pallet. It might be the same product, but not the same flavour, not the same things. So one of the biggest robotic automation things in this country is actually doing something like that. It's palletising. Right, okay. So you had the industrial robot people who were very much, it has to do this, it has to do that. And they'd go into somebody who's doing Aldi and they go, look, I just welded the sides on a Mini. And they go, they're always quite adenoidy as well. And you go, that's lovely, how does that relate to me? The Cobot people came along, and however good their technology is, the way they worked as a community, and you're in this camp, right? It's like, well, tell me what you want. yeah, I think I can do that, but also honest and go, oh, no,
That's expensive.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is easy, Yeah, I think that's it. I think where cobots have separated themselves, and I think it's a hard thing when you're a legacy company, which very much, and you see this in software as well, right? You see the Microsofts of the world, and then you see a startup who's got a web-based thing. The usability, the ability to change things, to code it. It's a hard thing in looking at some of the original industrial robots. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to know what you're doing on the cobots. But they made it. There was more like appealing entry level. Someone who at least has an interest could sit down and do it, right? And I think that's where, ignoring even the collaborative aspects of the cobot, the number of customers who are interested in a cobot, even if I'm going to cage it because we're running it at a ridiculous speed and whatever. It's more about, hey, how can I get into this? And I think, some of the industrial robot companies, they've tweaked to that. They know what's up. They've done things now they've come around. But now you've got they're the ones that are kind of slightly behind that curve as opposed to being at the front of it. So I do think you're absolutely right. It's a fantastic bit of kit that has opened opportunities up for especially smaller manufacturers to kind of be flexible and come up with ways that they can integrate or automate.
I've had many times I've had a UR person and an OmROM integrator talking openly together about the challenges they face, what gripper they would use, things like that. What's your thoughts on this? What's thoughts on that? Whereas it's changing. I look at the way that Alan Conn is running ABB, and I'm a huge fan of Alan. I occasionally do things where I chair and Alan's in the room, and I'm thinking, why am I chairing this? I'm an idiot. You're bloody good. But he's now, from his experience at B&R, and from his watching the community things, he's now running ABB in the UK, whether it's by strategy or by personality. It's probably both with Alan. He's running it like a cobot business, collaboratively, and ABB are the ones who are doing really well. Ollie's doing the same at FANUC, to be fair. But that kind of openness, whereas industrial robot people, it was such a turn off. Where I think there was also a thing. I also remember the same thing. We had a load of industrial robot people come in to support food manufacturing because I was doing the filling machine. It was like, any chance you could stay an extra night at the hotel and sort out the week for the chaff for me? And they knew who had been in before them, and basically their presentation, one of them's presentation was, well, I don't know why you had them in at 11 o'clock because I can do this, I can do that. And I can do this, I can do that, was yet again bloody Airbus and stuff, which is fascinating that we've glued wings on planes. I don't really care. All we care about is 4 strawberry to 2 raspberry on a bloody pallet. The cobot people aren't like that. This is Manufacturing Uncensored, brought to you by the PPMA Show 2026.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at what SMEs need and what they want from the sales process and what they want from the end result, it is. I just was speaking to a UR sales guy recently, and he was part of a bid, and they needed 3 integrators basically to quote for this job, and I'm like, that very rarely happens. It's not that it's never happened, but it rarely happens because most of the time the people I talk to, they are so busy doing what they have to do. This project, which their MD has said, hey, we need to go automate this, they can barely think about this. So if I happen to talk to them and have that conversation, they're like, all right, great. What would you do? Oh, that sounds like a great idea. Oh, how else can we do this? And here, let's talk through it. And it's a relationship. It's as opposed to being passed to a procurement person who then sends out to 3 and then they have a bid. Yeah. It's a different process. At the SME level, it's more about do you trust that the solution that I'm giving you is is there a flexibility of what is your offering? Oh, can we do this? And I go, well, yeah, it's a little bit more expensive. Are you okay with that? No? Okay, well, we can go do this. And I think that kind of like one-to-one relationship, people say people buy from people, right? And I think especially at the SME level, that's what happens. And it's, they have a different expectation than I think, they really don't care. Oh, I've welded the sides on the Mini, right? They're just, so it is. It's a...
Am I in trouble?
For what?
Well, I'm pretty pissed off all the industrial radio.
Nah, they're all too old to be listening to this.
Listen. We don't broadcast this on medium wave, do we? But I actually think I challenge you that you're wrong, but you're right. Because you're like, in SMEs you have to do this, you have to do that. You go to most large companies now. We got a tender document yesterday for a massive confectionery type, pet foodie type. I try and work out. I get around the NDA. Yeah. Something in a pot. But it is what we nickname pipe to pallet, even though it's not. It's a dry product. So we got to tender the whole thing, right? And we've had this juxtaposition. We've got the project team. We've written a very good ERS, and it's only on 4 pages actually. So I deem that a good ERS because ChatGPT can give you what you need in about 5 seconds. Not that we do that. We sometimes use Claude if it's a special day.
Ending in Y.
Yeah. And then we have we have their tender document, and they're saying the tender document's rubbish. Because it's basically designed for how you tool up a business. You can't Excel spreadsheet what you want. Just focus on the solution. The way that you sell to SMEs is now how you sell to big people as well. I am fortunate, as you point out to me, that I'm old. But I'm probably at the right kind of level of experience to critique this, and having seen about different phases go through. We sell to SMEs. We love selling little machines to little producers of a hummus, a dairy, small things. So it's almost our best sales, right? Because just the satisfaction we watch put that asset in and their business grow. There are quite a few people around here. Company a couple of miles from here took one of our machines, then scaled it up to 8 of our machines and a few other people, and then have sold out to one of the biggest European food groups in 7 years. And they were all a bit in administration in COVID as well, because they're mainly in food service, right? And that's the benefit automation did to them. We also sell to some of the biggest food groups in the world, and some of the biggest food groups in the UK. And the way that they are buying is more akin to what Peter's saying. What
tender process?
No. Like what an SME's like. Okay. So tell me about this. Tell me it just worked. And rather than it just being a tender process, the other thing is tender processes you can lie on. You can lie, right? Because tender processes, you know that a tender process is going to go. The FD's opinion will happen in parallel with the engineering director's opinion. Mm-hmm. So you can lie. I mean, I haven't. I genuinely haven't. I as much as I talk rubbish, I have never ever quoted anything that wouldn't work or would nearly work, and we've sorted out on site very quickly. But you can lie on a tender process because there's an equality to the signature. The way that SMEs do it, which now the big people are doing, what you're saying is more consultative, and by being more consultative, they check you're not a tosser and you've actually done it. So SMEs, for instance, 15, 20 years ago, we'd go in and say, we can do this, we can do that, it's X model, but with the assembly of this, assembly of that. Show me one. Take me somewhere. Don't care where in the world, show me one. We would seldom get that from a big company. It was all about the tender document. Do you conform to this? Is it Rockwell PLC? Is it this? Is that? We now take in pretty much anybody of any size with that consultative process you're saying, and they want reference visits. They want more R&D work up front, which in our case just squirting something in a pot, right? It's not that hard, right? But although sometimes we make it hard. I didn't mean it like that. But the way he's selling isn't just SME focused, it's industry agnostic.
Term you hate.
Don't I hate?
Yeah, I do think that the other part though of SMEs, as you say, those tender documents, and the ones that we do get them, and they come in and they've written a document that says here's what we need. It needs to be this, which again I think is the wrong way of doing it. I think because it is focusing on the solution, which is my job, right? Tell me the problem. What is the problem you're trying to solve, right? And I think that's again where SMEs actually they have an advantage because they don't know what the solution. They don't know what any of the solutions could be. They've seen a robot maybe, and they that's where the conversation might start. Like, oh, can we put a robot on this? Well, yeah, maybe, but actually, it'd be much easier with a conveyor and a bit of jigging, and so that kind of it's more of a journey through that learning process, and so you understand what the problem is much more deeply than just a document that says, I want this it must do this, it must do that. And again, if you've got the experience, you have a line and you're basically saying, give me another one of these lines, except now it's got to be strawberries instead of raspberries. Great, right? Happy days. But again, most of the SMEs, that is not the case. And in fact, it's not even an automated process that you're somehow upgrade. It's a totally manual process that they're figuring out which touch points can be automated and where can you fit this in, because they're probably not going to do everything, because that one product they do that for a month and then they're doing the next product. And it's that flexibility and able to run something that either can handle a lot of different product families or can be switched out to meet the needs of that week. And I think that becomes that you get a much more in-depth view of it. And I agree, we were up at a fruit manufacturer, basic provider, and that was exactly the conversation. It was like, what about this? And this is how we do this here, and can we do something here? And what does this look like? And so it was very much that sort of conversation around, here are our problems, which things are easy or fast or whatever to fix or improve or whatever. So
that process, I also think, gets the most out of the end user, right? Because basically anybody we sell a piece of equipment to is a frustrating machine builder, right? It's true, right? So it's how they vent that frustration, right? And if I think about a dairy customer that it took us a long time to get. So the company I started at, Regal Packaging, who've now been bought by somebody else who's my competitors. I won't mention them, but I'm pleased to have them as an Automate member. Well, it's Trepco, right? But by a Grunwald. Is when I joined Grunwald, I could never get that account, right? And the reason why I couldn't get that account was because I was coming at it wrong. And also their tender document meant the frustrated machine builder element of that customer was coming out of the document. So it must have this chain. It must have this PLC. We've now sold to that business, and Kel surprise, it ain't me, it's Sam, because she's a nicer person. Never listens to this, by the way. So people keep saying to her, you James.
So instead of being nice every episode, you could just slag her off every episode.
Yeah, I can't because she did a really nice thing for my birthday yesterday. Made breakfast for everybody in the office, and I was quite humbled, and so I can't bring myself to do it. But
maybe next.
You did witness the phone call where I had the option of what I picked as a brand earlier, as long as it was hers. You witnessed that phone call as I was pacing around. But what she did is she got the frustrated machine builder to actually work in parallel with us, right? We haven't done anything revolutionary. There's nothing on their machines that's new. But she was able to draw that so it's working in parallel, so it's as much as their design machine as it's ours. Mm-hmm. It's ours, right? But it's theirs. They're there. And a tender document gets that frustrated machine builder coming out super aggressive, I know best. It means that you as a supplier you step back and go, whoa, I don't know if I can be arsed with this. Mm. Everybody we work with wants to be us, which is odd, right? It's imposter syndrome. But when you go and tender to somebody, they don't understand that you're a start-up, and they don't understand about overheads, and they don't understand that some nights you don't sleep. Stuff I still have now. We did podcasts about it where we tried to make Peter cry a year ago.
We did.
Yeah, but not you, Williamson. We ought to get back on so we can succeed this year. Right? But they don't see that. They see the cool element. This guy's come in and he builds solutions, and all I'm getting screamed at is, why is the OEE shit?
Yeah.
So the process that SMEs work to, the process that Peter works to, it's more attractive to an end user. So let's not overlook. Robots is a shit word. To it should be automated solutions. And don't overlook the way that Peter tenders for work, the way you tender for work, the way I tender for work is a very attractive thing. And then you can go to the fourth date smelling of, I don't know, transmission oil, and they'll forget it because you're still the lovely person.
It's a little bit wanky, right? But it's the same, not what you just said. To cut the end of that conversation.
I thought it was more shit.
It's the same, talk to a marketing team, the same as like an engineering team. They all have skills issues. They need to feel like you're an extension of their team because they don't know how to integrate a robot. Yeah. But they also need to trust that you can come to their facility every day and rock up on time and fit things to their spec and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
Same with sales and marketing. And
Yeah, no, I mean, ownership's an important bit. I mean, it's not go over old themes, but adopting automation is scary, normally for people's actual careers.
We've discussed this before. It's a big risk for someone on a shop floor to say, I'm going to automate a line.
So if they know
if it goes wrong,
so if they know
their job.
If they know Peter's as screwed as I am, if I'm the buyer and he's as screwed as I am, well, at least that's 50% of the jeopardy shared, right? Yeah. And that's a massive part of it.
Yep.
I mean, I'd say it goes the same for me to the suppliers I use, right?
Yeah.
So the people that I work with and have like repeated work with is because I feel exactly like that they're an extension of my team. So I'm like, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. I'm not exactly sure the best way to solve this. Have you seen this before? Oh yeah, okay, this is good. And it's a more of a collaborative effort. And so at the end you feel like, okay, this is it's a team effort. And so it's universal.
I was actually feeding that back to one of your suppliers this week.
Oh, were you? Oh, good. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. There you go.
Like their tech support is that they will sit with you and get something working.
Absolutely.
But the bigger guys, you will be calling around for weeks to try and get something working.
And that's it. And I think this is what happens, I think, in technology companies, but definitely in automation companies, is that you end up with companies starting in places that are engineer focused, right? So I'm an engineer by background. My partner's an engineer by background. We're engineers. We're not salespeople, right? So we've moved over to this because we have to do it, but because we like talking to customers. We like solving problems, but it's not our forte. And then what kind of happens is you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you get some quote unquote real salesmen. They come in, and then it becomes a more sales and a marketing. And now you're pushing these because you have to supply your back end. And now you end up, it gets lopsided on the other way. I mean, and I think where it becomes very hard. You've now got these very successful salespeople and very successful marketing departments that have pushed out a lot of product, and the engineering departments or the tech support sides struggle to keep up because they've got so many customers all the way from end users all the way through to machine builders or integrators or whatever else that need some help in figuring out how to get their bit of kit to talk to that bit of kit and get that to come together.
Traditional sales manager role's gone though. Always going, right? There's some fantastic salespeople, don't get me wrong, but there's no bigger turn off to what you would have seen. It's not even look at just look at integrated system people. Is that you have somebody who comes in who does the initial pitch, kind of okay. And the second pitch, they have to bring in their technical manager. And there's that thing of, how did you see the football last night? And then the technical manager takes over. And then that person, it's a bit white gold. Right. And then there's that awful thing as well, is that I'm pleased is going, is that as soon as the system was sold, the salesperson would go and you'd get a project engineer. And that smells of, did I just buy the right thing, or did I just buy it from somebody who the business can't even trust to do his own shoelaces or her own shoelaces up, right? And that model's changing. I don't think that was ever a reflection on the quality of human being, by the way. I'm not saying that because I represent them. I don't think it was that. I think it was that process is that we as an industry for too long, it's why your question about why don't we sell enough robots, is because you had people half briefed, smelling of desperation, peddling shit, and then the moment you actually ordered something, they disappear and you get a new person and you go,
But is that not because there's different skill sets, right? I think, I think there's an aspect. I mean, I've worked with some very good salespeople, some what we'll see, and I think I've also worked with, especially on the SME side, where with suppliers and through networking groups, and I need something, right? And I'll talk to the engineer or talk to the person, the equivalent of me in that company, and I leave that going, oh man, that's I'm not sure I'm 100%. I mean, I think because engineers, they're very honest, right? So they will tell you the blemishes, they will tell you the problems, which is a good thing to have, but it's not something people want to buy confidence. They want to know it's going to work. Their job is on the line. They want that confidence, and to have that separation.
But isn't that the natural way of realizing that supplier's not right for you? I mean, let's be frank about it, right? Because you I don't know, you decide that you are picking something from conveyor A to conveyor B, and it's of a thing where it looks like it needs to be a cobot system with a bit of manual stuff, right? So you get 4 or 5 suppliers in. People will do that because it's like test driving cars. It's then when it comes to the tender process, it becomes a bit more, oh shit, right? If somebody goes, oh, I don't know, I actually think the honesty thing means they're out the game, but bizarrely they're potentially in the game for the next one, right? Don't overlook that. False confidence means that systems, if people come out, yeah, I can definitely do it, and then backfill, right? I would say that was the biggest issue with PPMA membership, right? We had one of the lowest, why automation, the bit you're not, what did we say, the thing you don't say out loud in case you get punched in the face, what's the feature?
Say the quiet part out loud, that one.
Is
the one that was saved at the end of the episode.
Dan can edit. Is the reason why you got over? So we've buggered up our own world as much as the outside world has. One is turning people off to automation by showing them unrelevant application when we turn up, and the second thing is winging it. Okay, and winging it by too much for a %. And that meant that we were one of the lowest nations about 20 years ago for packaging machinery that had stuff that actually worked to contract. Right? Mm. And that was that winging it. And the fact we're now more honest, which I think because you've got a different generation ethic coming through, and then that ethic is then being given a real adrenaline shot by the, I say, cobots. I mean, clarify, I don't really care about cobots, just a little robot. It's the culture that those guys bought that I think is brilliant. That's what I sell, right? That's what I think is great. So I don't mind the honesty bit because it means you're not getting that one. But that person, don't overlook that you've left a car park thinking, I've just wasted a load of diesel and I'm going to report this back. But that person is going, nah, it's not for us. But he or she were honest. I know they do something, so that you're more likely to get the repeat inquiry.
It's future trust, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, and that's it. It comes from trust. You've got to get to that point. But I think that, and this may be slightly different with the industry, right? When you're looking at people who are, again, this is a case, know what they need. We've got a line, we need a packaging machine, or we need whatever. It's something that is pretty much a standard piece of kit that is applied in a maybe a slightly different way. But when you've got people who have a very manual process, they need to take this thing, we insert this, we then press it over here, we then do this. Can we grab that? Can we see that? How are they presented to us? Are they coming in trays? It's not that any of those things are like totally unusual, but there is still a bit of unknown. And so me as an engineer coming in being like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we can do that. I mean, it's not anything crazy, right? We got to grab that, and it's probably a 3, and then we might need a vacuum for that, and blah. Whereas in my head anyway, if I didn't have to worry about having my engineer hat on and I just had my sale, I'd be like, yep. No problem. Yep, absolutely. And this is, I think, the idea of having, when you have that separation of job roles, you end up with being able to be more confident because you don't know what you don't know. Where I've got scars and words and I know what I don't know. And so, I think, and I am honest. It's the only way you can progress.
So which hat do you wear when you go and sell something?
That's the problem. Is throughout the meeting, I'll probably swap it around, right? Because there's a level of, and I don't want to say it's false confidence, but it is, because I do think we can do it, right? I would not, if we couldn't do it, there's no chance. Where I think a sales guy might go, yeah, they'll probably figure it out. Where I go, yeah, no, we cannot do that. Because I obviously think we can do it, or else I wouldn't be even having the conversation. But I do try to convey how hard it's going to be, right? Like we might need to do a prototype for this, or we might need to do a bit of R&D beforehand, or whatever, to try to like pave the way for.
That's important.
Well, I think they need to know, right? And it's that this isn't just like
I've gone the
piece
other
of
way,
cake.
and we've sold big systems when I used to work for a big robot company that fell flat on its face with the end user screaming at me, being a random sales guy on the shop floor, because it's not working. Because our corporate in Germany told us that this all works, it's absolutely fine, deliver it, and it was like 8 robots that just sat there for months, and we were throwing money at it just to get it working because of blind confidence of something. Yeah,
and that's it. And this is where you got marketing, and this is hard too, where I'm, especially as a startup, as we're coming through this, that I am constantly talking to new suppliers and finding new bits of kit, and people develop stuff all the time, and there is a level of trust of this will do what you say it can do, and you can have testing done, and here's some parts and try it or whatever, but at the end of the day there's still a level of trust that it's going to be able to do what you say it's going to do.
The technology that does talk about that quite a lot, and actually it's part of just their sales process, and we've got UKIVA next week, is the vision guys. My last job was Cognex, and one of the best integrators I dealt with. Well, actually, all of our integrators did exactly the same thing.
Backtracking because you call them nerds.
No.
Slam that in reverse.
They are all nerds. They are all nerds. Watch the Alan Anderson episode. They're all nerds. Is that feasibility study is part of the sales process. If you do not do a feasibility study, we're not selling to you.
Yeah.
That should just be a generic thing anyway, shouldn't it?
Have I lost my mic?
No,
that's right.
Still there.
You might have tried it that side. I just
Can we
tapped
turn
it.
his off anyway?
Yeah.
You got to switch. Go carry.
You to sell industrial automation, but I'd actually think to sell most things now. What hat do you have? To be successful in selling a big thing, whether it be industrial automation, whether it be a factory, whether it be a train, something. I think cars is probably the last thing that's transactional. It's got more transactional with the Chinese manufacturers come in. You walk into that room and you have more jobs than Miss Rabbit and Peppa Pig. Really, right? You are part engineer, you're part sales, you're part marketing. Then you do the rescue helicopter, right? And people are, why have you got a rescue helicopter? Well, I'm like,
you never know.
You never know, right? But that is the approach, and that what's worked. And again, you look at it, the big people, the robotic people, the big packaging machinery people, who do high-speed bottling lines at like 1 million a minute or stuff like that. They're coming to Peter's way of selling and my way of selling.
Yep.
And it actually, that will lead to more things that work. More things that work means that automation adoption, not robotic adoption, will increase. And nothing's standard. So when I first bought Grunwald, it came with a labelling agency as well, which I sacked off after 2 years. I don't think they're Automate members anymore, but I was very pleased to have them. And I find labelling bloody boring, right? But I use labelling as chair of Automate, and I'm very pleased with the labelling people we've got, right? I use labelling machines as a barometer on where the market is going. Forget about robot and stuff like that. I really don't know what my hands are doing today.
We know what the trainer is.
Yeah. I'm going to be like, is it Talladega Nights where Will Ferrell's just like this? I'm just going to stand like that. I did really well today. But I quite like I think labelling machines are really cool in 2026 because they're not just labelling machines. They've got a camera system on them. They've got scrolls, quite a few of them, because of things like having to put secondary labels on. There's cobots appearing on labellers, right? That ain't a standard thing anymore. Now, bizarrely, the cost of stuff is actually coming down net. I was looking at it bizarrely. Sam sold a rotary machine last week, and I was like, oh, something wrong here. And the cost is actually only, even though it's got a lot more on it, the cost is actually only 5% more than the equivalent thing we sold just before COVID. So the cost isn't really increasing. I mean,
yours is. Your margins just. Let's hope the end user's not watching.
We don't do it for profit. We do it for deliverance
the love
of
of it.
sales. Yeah. But yeah, so nothing's standard as well. So I don't mean to read about labellers, because labellers before COVID, dull as shit. You actually I was looking at a system from I've watched videos from Herma, from Premier, and from Sovereign in the last 2-3 weeks. They are my barometer as chair of Automate as what's going on, and they're bloody cool.
Yeah.
Bloody cool.
Yeah. I'm going to try and bring some order back to the podcast because I've got all these pieces of paper in front of me and I've flipped over the first page and that's all we've got.
Oh, boy,
So,
yeah.
so this podcast sponsored by the PPMO Show 2026.
There will be an ad at some point in this. I'm going to skip through these ones.
Plus the builder wants to come in to finish the building off.
Yeah, maybe we should have part of the episode some B-roll of all the workers that are running around
Yeah,
like there's
exactly.
chickens in the background.
He's wearing those socks that you get from petrol stations that haven't actually got, they're sport socks, but rather than having the brand on, they just have the word sport on them.
You've been buying socks on petrol stations?
No, but you've not seen them. I'm plagiarising a podcast I'm actually going to go and see tonight. Have you not seen that there's you get like sports socks like Nike and Reebok and others are available, but then there's a petrol station equivalent, somewhere near Cotton Traders, whatever they're called, when you're at a service station, that are they're about 10 pairs for like £3.99, and they just have the word sport on them. He's got them. Not Will. Will hasn't got them. He's very... What?
Sounds like you need a pair. I'm sure he's got an extra one in his van.
Exactly. We're going to...
Yeah.
That gets it.
So this segment in the podcast
Not fashion.
is called Bullshit or Backbone.
Oh,
So you
right.
can't answer until you've given us one word, bullshit or backbone, all right?
All right.
Okay, most manufacturers know they need to automate.
Bullshit.
They timer.
They always think, don't
Bullshit.
they? They always think
Bullshit.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Why don't they know?
Because the same thing at the very beginning said it's always worked that way, and it's been a.
Is it not that they do know then? They're just refusing to.
I don't think so. I think they're thinking people need to, right? They're thinking like someone needs to, like as an industry you need to, but not us. It's this is working, right? It's still working. We just need to. We just need this, and we just need that. And I think it could be that some of that is they're looking for something to do, but again, the robots might be throwing people. We don't need a robot, so we must not need automation. Where there could be a lot of other things that actually would help them a lot get through what they need. So again, they don't think they need it.
He's good, isn't he? He's. I'm thinking.
That's why I asked him to.
I think Peter might replace me somehow. I'm not sure how. Do you? Do you
Well, we can trade.
Do you,
How about you want to do mine?
fancy adopting a wife and 2 children in Lincolnshire? I mean, that's probably the.
Oh, you didn't mean business, you meant personal.
But no, there's a bit right. So, but we'll talk later. But there's another nugget he's just said there. It's born out of engineers and imposter syndrome. Which is why I wore yet another hotel carpet out this morning because I'm an idiot engineer and why am I doing this? And mainly, as we know, it's the ADHD and the ego, but it takes a while to kick in. Is that everybody's got to automate. Everybody's got to automate. This is brilliant. Yeah, everybody's got to automate. Everybody's got to automate. And then suddenly the people who automate are the ones who go, oh shit, that's me. Right, that's a big thing. It's like, oh shit, that's me, isn't it? So everybody needs to automate. I'm an engineer and everybody needs to automate. Everybody needs to automate, needs to automate. I am producing something and I've just won my first big contract to do it for this car component company, or I've just got into a supermarket, or but everybody else needs to automate. Why is everybody so tired and why do we keep failing their orders? And you go, oh, it's me. That's an interesting point.
Mm-hmm. This is Manufacturing Uncensored, brought to you by PPMA Show 2026. The biggest barrier to automation is cost.
For SMEs, yes, no question. It's not even close.
Peter, you didn't say the word.
Backbone then. Yes, sorry. Yes, I forgot. Yeah, you got to have the segment up. Is there?
Oh, we will.
Put on the screen.
I don't see that. We just can't afford the big screen
Yeah, we
behind
need it
us
on
yet.
the back. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, that's it.
I can.
There is
Yeah.
one. Actually, it doesn't work yet.
It's not plugged in. Sorry.
I tried to do a board meeting on that last week. Jesus Christ, we had Sky News up at one bit.
Right. Last bullshit about. Oh no, I've got two. The trade association should be doing more to help SMEs automate.
Backbone. Yeah.
Nah, I can't be bothered, mate. There's no corporate hospitality in it. I agree. And the bit that's probably on camera that could end my career, when we were ramping up and Dan went, cameras were rolling, and I went, and I basically slagged off a load of people's apps, including yours. No, it was nice about yours, wasn't it? It was nice about your app. I do like your app.
Yeah.
I confused. The only trouble I would
Let's not. Let's not
the only trouble
diagnose my app here.
The only trouble I would say with your app,
Yeah.
is its colour coordination is too similar to the Seatfrog app.
The what app?
You're not aware of Seatfrog? So Seatfrog is where you can get cheap train tickets.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's too similar to that.
It's too similar to that.
So you don't know which one you're pressing.
No, so I'm like, why am I looking at some boring shit about a PLC when I just want to see if I can travel first class for £7.50 because I fancy a lunch and free Wi-Fi. All right. So what was I talking about?
The UK talks about automation more than it actually does automation.
Oh, you want an SME bit from the chair of Automate UK, otherwise I'm cancelled, right?
Okay, all right. Let's finish up then. Trade associations should be doing more to help SMEs automate.
Yes.
There you go. Full stop. So, what are we doing? Do I get to ask that? Do I get to ask any questions?
You can ask James whatever you want.
Yeah, go for it. What do you want to ask me?
I want to know is there a pathway for getting more SMEs to automate?
Yes.
And also on the integrator side, so the small integrator side, to help
Yes.
us get more of those customers, because they're obviously the people we want to sell to, and kind of grow that ecosystem on both sides, right? Kind of the tail end and the head end, right? Together.
Yes.
What are we doing?
There is a pathway, but we are too. We're not far enough down the path. Want to use the analogy, and it's one of the main reasons why we did the automate thing, right? Aside from the fact of nobody knew what PPMA meant. Okay. Now, that pathway actually starts a lot earlier than you think, and the main way to start that pathway is a marketing thing, and it's using different marketing techniques. So it's basically even like quite disruptive marketing techniques, that making sure that the advert on somebody's phone, when they're Googling something or something like that, has some Automate stuff or some Automate member stuff on it. Okay, so you get them used to the surrounding. You actually go that far back, and we're doing that. And we only did it a couple of years, but anecdotally it meant we got a lot more SME visitors to Birmingham last year. Okay, so it actually goes further back than you think, but we're not there enough. What we also need to do is we need to keep running events to demonstrate that automation is not scary, and a lot of the keynote speakers and a lot of the content and things like the demo areas that we have at the shows now do that, because it's kind of in a more neutralized, calm zone. Okay, so we're doing that, but it's got a long way to go. From a member point of view, the answer is, I think we need to get better at explaining that you're as a significant member to us as the people who make your robots, and we're very up for that. But maybe it's a typical thing that trade associations aren't very good at, is we don't tell you enough. So we will be really coming out to the people like yourself and saying, look, we'll help, we'll support. You pay your subs, the rate of return you'll get will be high, and even how you pay your subs we can have a bit of a conversation about. We can do that. And then the most crucial thing is what we're doing next, without making it sound like too like sales leafletly. We will have end user membership as part of this trade association by the end of September. Okay, and we are deliberately looking at launch members who actually the people they represent have been handling automation. So actually one of the launch member, and likely my board advisor from end users, is a transformation director from a large food producer, but started in the industry on a line being the person who needed to be automated because it was RSIE and it was stuff like that. So we build the community where end users of any size, and members of any size are in one big room, whether it's Hall 5 at the NEC or whether it's a virtual room. It just breaks the walls down. It becomes a chat. It becomes more application engineering. It becomes more succinct. I think we're doing a lot, and I think the other thing is as well is that you have a group of people running Automate UK now who recognise the value in SMEs as well, whereas previously we were maybe a trade association that wanted to. So if you look at the lobbying we're doing, and again it's early days, but we're part of the industrial strategy. You shouldn't overlook it. You know, we get massive industrial imposter syndrome, but you know the robotic adoption hubs were things made by a variety of people. But I think I've said before, the model of the robotic adoption hub, I'm not necessarily saying they followed it, but we lobbied it. We wrote on the back of a serviette in a pub 4 years ago, right? And that was very SME focused. And we lobby for, when we're doing lobbying for education, lobbying for health and safety, and we do it on an SME focus. And we in here now lobby just generally for SMEs. About the landscapes. That isn't about the adoption of automation. That's even stuff like, why can't you pay your corporation tax in instalments, right? So we are doing stuff. Would I say we are anywhere we need to be? No, I don't think we are. I am very proud of what we've done with Automate 3 years ago. What would be my biggest frustration that SME thing we haven't made the traction that we need to. We will the next 2 years. Otherwise there'll be blood and feathers. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. That's what was a sensible answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rip me apart.
What is it that you would want from a trade association?
Well, I think all the things we've just talked about today around how SMEs buy, and how SMEs like myself sell, and you've got this. You need opportunities to develop the trust, and you're not going to have that necessarily without those interactions. Yeah. And so it means you've got to have people in the room, like myself, that are on that micro side of the SME, right? And so you've got this, and the same thing on the manufacturing side, right? Where they are SMEs, maybe on the smaller side, maybe not, but they are not focused. They don't even know they need to automate, right? So the idea of them being in a room put together by Automate UK is kind of a bit of a stretch, right? So it's because how do we get those people that don't even know they need to automate in with someone that is a good fit for them because they want to figure it out. They don't know what they need even. They need someone who's going to walk them through a very like organic and kind of like exploratory process, and that wants to do those types of things. And I don't have any answers, but we've talked about it a lot today, right? We need more of those conversations.
It's not a stretch. We just haven't done enough of it yet. But that'd be my term, because we know, I'll be very honest with you, some of our exhibition competitors are doing quite well on this as well. Is if I drag it all the way back, and I know we got Bianca on later, 2 weeks later, 2 hours later, who knows? It's getting people used to the environment, right? That basically, hey, you produce jam. Here's a machine filling jam, right? So we have the might and we have the resource to do that. So people get used to the environment that hey, I fill jam, we can do jam. Yeah. So actually, it's the bit you don't see, which is very, very boring. Is making sure we can do things. Not that your phone listens to you, but maybe it does. We can do things about making sure that we can put automation into the environment of people who need it.
Yeah, you want the end user to come to Automate to facilitate that conversation.
No, we to be clear, we don't really care about Automate at that point. So we run microsites on our website, which basically is that everybody gets a bit. Every member can have a microsite, and that microsite basically is their chunk of a very search engine optimized thing where they can put down whatever they want, and we will manage the SEO for them. Mm-hmm. Now what we want is basically on the microsite for 2 clicks so we can track it, and then they bugger off to the member's website. So we're not actually asked about Automate. Automate does not want to be a business. Goes, oh, we've taken this inquiry and who we're going to give it to, right? So we have the process on that. We know the microsites, by the way, and we've got to get better at selling them. And that's not true. We got to scale up selling them actually because we're sat on something which is too big for the resource we've got, and we'll deal with that. Regardless of the size of member, we're generating leads, inquiries. Somebody that fills an inquiry form, 10 times higher than their own Google score. So that would be as a micro person, is I can guarantee you that if you joined Automate UK, took a microsite and did a show, is that we could guarantee you inquiries, a level through SEO that you won't get yourself unless because I know how much we spend on it, and it's a considerable six-figure sum.
Yeah. Last one. The UK talks about automation more than it actually does automation. Saying that as we've sat for an hour so far talking about automation.
I think.
Yeah, but we're geeks.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? I'd say my gut says backbone because I'm in that bubble, right? I talk about it all the time. The people I talk to, that's what we talk about. But having seen the type of customers, as I mentioned before, that I used to go into and sell hand tools to, I'm not sure.
They're not talking about it.
They don't know they need it. It's not, to your point, they're not even in the room, right? They're not aware that this is out there, this is what, and I think, and this is why we tend to take a pretty traditional approach, is that I think people are aware of Lean. Lean's been around for 50 years. And there's other sort of efficiency programs, and they're quite quick to pick up those things, which are good, and they absolutely should do that first. But it's that next step of, especially, and this is the problem, is because if you're a customer who makes X, and either there isn't really anyone else, or you're not looking to make X, you're looking to do this one part of that, you can't say, oh, I need to do jam, because no one else does this. And every single project we basically have done, bar one, I would say, has been something that you couldn't have Googled, right? You couldn't have Googled. Me as a manufacturer, if I put myself in their shoes, I could not have Googled the equivalent of jam filling, right? Because this is they don't even know, and it's weird, and it's strange. And so how do you get that? You've got to talk to someone who then helps you kind of put together the pieces. And I think that's the barrier to get them going.
We, again, coming back to the microsites, I don't want to do a sales pitch. I'm not very good at it.
You sold me.
Is this the new ad read?
Yeah, exactly. But we can do. So there's seldom has anything been done. I was distracted by socks.
I was just looking.
Seldom has anything been done. Everything's been done before, right? It's about doing it better and doing it cooler, and actually maybe it working. We need to put into our homogeneous mix of stuff that we optimize and we market out that certain things. So if somebody puts in automotive component assembly, it takes you to the Automate site, and the Automate site then spreads you out to all the members that can do it with the microsites. So again, we have to put as much of those keywords in as possible to give the outlet, and we're probably about 50-60% of the way through it, but that's what we have to do, so that our responsibility is to make everything that our members make, or anything that our would-be members make, because we know who our would-be members will be, right? We need to actually, one of our core responsibilities is to make sure it does appear on Google. Like that's probably the biggest value. That's probably one of the biggest things. I want to write that down. I'll go and talk to Dan about that when he's in. He's bloody loud, isn't he? You can hear Dan Toms, can't you, through the wall?
Well, the viewers won't know.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure Dan will be very happy that you've highlighted that.
Oh, I'm sure. Dan's still, I think, struggling with the fact that he's got a plonker like me as his de facto boss, I think. But no, that's the thing, right? That's probably the biggest responsibility of the trade association, as well as the exhibitions and stuff, is making sure that all the things that you want in Google, we make sure they're in Google, and we have the mechanics to do it. An SME on their own, as an automation provider, doesn't have that.
Yep. Okay, I've skipped so much of my script because I think we've taught industry and automation to death. But I do have a bit around you. So we're going to give you a chance to talk
Well, this is new,
instead
isn't
of
it?
James.
I'll talk
It
about
is.
myself. There you
It
go.
is new because I knew that we would talk about robots to death.
Why the hell are you asking, have you ever tried crack cocaine? Jesus.
Not since the first time.
What's the closest you've ever come to quitting?
This every day, right? It is every day is hard on every front because you've got financial concerns, you've got technology concerns, right? Of like, getting something to work and it doesn't work, and why doesn't this work? This is plugged into that should work, and then trying to get some support and can't get any support, and then and then it's like, okay, what are we doing for marketing? Oh God, I don't know. We've got to have a strategy meeting around that and implement that. The learning curve on every single part of your life is basically vertical. And so, and I would love to get to the point where OmnaTec is selling a standard product where we're like, yeah, here's your jam filler. Great, happy days. God, I would love to sell a standard product. And the closest thing to that is a palletizer, right? That is a standard product. Customers understand what it is. The thing is that we start conversations around the palletizer. They don't end up wanting a palletizer.
Yeah.
They've got bigger problems. They want something else.
But be quite frank with you, Peter, if you want a standard sort of standard piece of equipment, there's two things that you need in your business. You can pick one of the two of them. One's a DeLorean and one's a TARDIS. That's gone. Time travel's the only way. Go back to the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the case, right? But I do think you look around at other integrators, and I talk to people at trade shows and whatnot, and there are people who have specialized. Maybe it's not standard, but they've specialized down on a particular bit of kit. Niche, niche, right? They've really niched down, and I think part of it's because of the age of our business. We're still young, and so we are very much open to trying new things and helping whoever kind of picks up the phone. But I think that adds a financial impact because you're doing something you've never done before. It may be bits and pieces that you've done before, but maybe it's in a new way. A new robot, so you got a whole new IDE, a new PLC, you got, and it's one of those things that is a complexity, but, the financial side of, especially the way that the expectations are in the industry for what milestones look like in a billing cycle, what customers are willing to pay up front, at the end, in the middle, whatever it may be, it puts a lot of stress on the integrator's cash flow and trying to get that next thing, get the next job in and whatever else. So the thing is I love automation. I mean, one of the first things I did when I was an engineer out of university was I did like VBA in Excel, and I automated basically this form for the company we had. It was part of a Six Sigma project I had to do. And, I just liked the idea that you could do something in the digital world and something happened that made someone's life easier, right?
I thought you were about to he's about to call Excel the digital landscape. Bloody hell, that's stretching it a bit.
Well, I have been working a long time,
a long time ago.
I started the digital landscape. Oh, what did you start the digital landscape? Microsoft. Nah,
that's it. But as my career has progressed, and I've seen, we've moved along, and automation is like that manifesting in the physical world, right? You do something, you put things together, things happen in the real world, and things get done, and it's exciting stuff. The robots obviously are an exciting part of that, and so that's what keeps you going. And the problems you solve are interesting. So, but every day is a hard day.
I've got loads of questions, but we were speaking off camera before. I think that was quite a nice explanation of the stress that you're under. Do you want to just? I don't know where we pick up, really. Vent, yeah. You've got 3 projects that seem to have landed at the same time.
Yeah.
How are you actually managing customer expectation, supplier expectation, delivery times, financing? Because people will be watching this with the exact same...
He's doing it exceptionally well. They're watching. Because he's going to selfie the shit out of this. We might actually get some viewers off Peter. So the answer is Peter's dealing with it very, very well. I think I've never seen somebody deal with it so well. That's what you say, right? I admire fire. How are you dealing with it so well?
There will be members of Automate watching this who are under extreme pressure. So there may be some learning.
I mean,
or just some relief in knowing that someone else is
I
struggling
would
the
not
same.
advise you to do what I'm doing because the nights, the weekends, the time, because there's a limited time in the week, right? And if you have 4 weeks to get something done and you need it done in 3, well, the only way to pull that week back in is to work more hours in the side you've got. And obviously, I've got some pretty hard boundaries. I've got kids. I'm not willing to miss bedtimes. I'm not willing to, be gone for an entire weekend. But does that mean I'm not going to work 4 hours on a weekend somewhere to try to get some? Absolutely, right. And that kind of is unfortunately the part. And I hope that is not forever, right? But right now, that's kind of what happened. And we're in a position that we're not going to say no to work. And it's not like we knew this was going to happen. The plan was that project's going to be done. Next project's going to be in. I thought this is going to be perfect. This is all going to line up. And all it takes is 1 or 2 things. Oh, that didn't get delivered for 6 weeks late. And now the next thing is, oh, now that's not delivered for 6. And now you've got this like knock-on effect that not only does it affect your project schedule, but it affects your cash flow because you've now got, all your running costs that are bottling up and you can't invoice because you haven't done that milestone. And it does snowball. But I think the only way out of it is to have, again, if you've done the sales process in the way that we've talked about, and there is a bit of trust that you're not, taking them for a ride.
But you just, right, there's a couple of points there that I would counter. Right. If is that a lot of that is your makeup. Right, so just it is your biggest. The fact that you want to do, I'll do this, I'll do that, and you know you can do it. Right, you have behind the oh my god, you also know that you've got the capacity to do it because you believe in what you're doing it, and the mental risk assessments as an entrepreneur. I mean, I don't want to make this too secret diary of a tosspot, right, or whatever it's called.
I think that's it.
Yeah, secret diary.
That's it. Yeah.
But it is that you have done risk assessments that you can't speak out loud in your head daily. You're going to do them on the way home today. Not even about the projects you're doing, just life, right? That's entrepreneurism. I don't know how you say that. And speaking as somebody who's further down the journey, I'll do Saturdays. You just do less of them. What will happen is that you won't be able to do it for as long, right? So, I mean, no way am I capable of being the MD of Grunwald probably much past my mid-50s. Right, I'll go and do something else. I mean, I'm not of a generation that can early retire. But it's part of your makeup. What doesn't help you is funding, right? So we know, and I believe the way that customers, especially when the 60-day payment term thing comes in, I think the way that customers predominantly are paying for things is about fair because they've got to make sure that they don't just give you all the cash and you bugger off, right?
Yeah.
Front-end funding needs some drastic improvement and that needs looking at, and that's governmental and whether we can make the difference. I think we did really well as a collective set of trade associations to do the 60-day payment terms. So if we actually get a government that isn't rats in a sack, like we're back to. And you've got hard boundaries, and I appreciate it. So I have certain hard boundaries, like I don't try and be away on the kids' birthdays. Less asked about mine, because Tom said I had to do this.
It's not your birthday today.
No, it was yesterday.
Well then.
And at time of broadcast, I'm probably 50. So yeah, no, but I mean, it's just your makeup, right? Don't overanalyze it, rejoice it. It took me a long time to do that. Make sure that, and also don't. I mean, I am bloody tired at the moment. I'll be frank with you. It doesn't change, right? I am bloody tired. My shoulders hurt, and it's taken a lot of coffee, and I'm counting down to all I can think about. As I love doing this, a mate of mine's son is racing in Formula Ford at Cadwell Park on Saturday, and all I think about at the moment is having a little nap on the bank of Cadwell Park watching Formula Fords go round, right? Forget about any big strategy and stuff like that. As speaking currently as whatever I am, the biggest tosspot in the industry. I've got,
Bring up a title card.
I don't have any strategy in my body right now. All I have is countdown to a nap on Cadwell Park, right? you need your boundaries. But that 2 hours is all you need, right?
Yeah.
So don't overanalyze it, because you're actually a very special person.
Put that on mine. Special person.
Yeah, I mean that does. I mean, I know you're
Special.
American. That does have two. That does have two connotations in Britain. But
That's what I meant. Yeah.
but yeah, you don't overanalyze it. That's one of your biggest strengths. But you just got to make sure that you take the using Gary Neville's term, the micro retirements.
I think too, and I speak because obviously my wife hears the rant. I come home and I go, oh my God, whatever happened that day. There's things you can't control, right? I cannot control the suppliers. I can't control this. I can't control that. I can only solve the next problem, right? And this is where it gets hard too when you're running the business and you need to theoretically have a strategy for but in reality, the day to day, what's the next problem you can solve? And you solve that problem, you solve the next problem. It's the Martian. You just solve the next problem, and I think it does bring it down to a more manageable level, right? It's easy to get overwhelmed by, oh my God, I've got all this to do, but you just got to do the next thing. And I think as engineers, we are good at that. We're so good at solving the next thing, and it's just keeping that perspective on it as you're working through it.
So finance is the biggest thing keeps you awake?
I mean, I would say we run exceedingly lean on our costs. So we have kept our running costs as low as you possibly could be. I don't think you could be any lower. Everyone who comes out to our unit is like, gosh, you are in an amazing location. It's because we're out in the middle of nowhere. We're in a beautiful place. It's on the farm. It's great. But it's low cost because we're out in the middle of nowhere. And I think the hard part is on the project front. So we just more or less were right at the last bit of a project that was a huge project for us, both in terms of technical and investment. And we got essentially, I call it a bridging loan, right? Because the idea being that this is a 6-month project or whatnot, and we need to cover a bit of equipment cost, a bit of running cost until we can get to this milestone up here. It was harder than I would have expected, considering the type of what we're doing here, and that we're buying equipment, which is an asset. We're delivering something to a customer that is financially well off. They're not, risk of bankruptcy, and anything like that. But lenders don't want to even talk about it. And I understand why. Because it's such a short period of time. They don't make any money, right? So there's not enough on the interest to make sense to do a 6-month loan, which I get. But again, it's like, how do you then facilitate people like us that need to have this to kind of move this along around it? And I don't have the answer to that, but it feels like something that I believe is fairly low risk. How do you get something that can meet their needs as a lending institution and the industry that needs to be able to bridge this gap, so get these projects done? Because the other thing that SMEs are not doing is funding it out of cash flow or out of cash reserves. Right?
No, I agree. I mean, you've got a fundamental issue with funding in this country that the banks, I was about to use the term castration, it's probably not right, but I mean...
But we've had them on, not this podcast yet, but Automate panels, and they all say, we would love to fund.
Yeah, but they'd love to, but they don't, because because you got to remember that I think there's a big issue when you work for, it's probably a Machiavellian model, right? There's a big issue if you work for a company, and I would say finance companies or banks are the worst of this, is that you have the role, you have the responsibility, you don't have the authority. So you've had people on your panels who are lovely, well-intended people who can follow the narrative of what they're supposed to say, and then you would give them an inquiry saying, oh, could you fund this for me? And the computer says no.
Yeah.
Right, so you have a fundamental issue, basically probably coming off the credit crunch, is that basically I am told at one large bank on their industrial section, they employ 750 people in this country, only 5 people have the right to say yes or no. So just risk averse, right? And that's hell of a queue.
Yeah.
And I have been offered funding 6 months after I needed it. both governmental and lender. And it's like, well, I've built the... Well, I haven't. Very clever Germans have. I've built the bloody thing now. It's in the production. I had to self-fund it.
Yeah. And if you're positioned to do it, right, then great. And obviously that's where we mostly have been. We try, we've grown organically to be able to essentially slowly build up to pay for that. And this was a big jump for us, right, which is part of the issue. We're a fairly new company. They looked at us, the computer said, that's exactly the conversation I had with the account manager or whatnot. And they were like, yeah, the computer said no. And it's like, but is there someone we can appeal to? Is there a human here that can look at this project?
Actual business
Yeah, and they're like, no.
We need to have a look at it, but the tosspots with calculators are the biggest inhibitor to automation sign up in this country. There's your clip. The financial industry of this country at this given moment has got its head so far up its arse, licking in its own stomach, that it doesn't realise that whilst manufacturing isn't going to ever be the biggest sector in this country, the process to making money always starts with somebody building a thing.
Yeah.
Right? And until they stop, let's use naval go, no, it's head up their arse, right? Until there's an appreciation that you need to invest in manufacturing, because then that means you can sixfold invest in the cool shit of hedge funds and whatever else tossery you want, right? Until that culture changes, we have a real problem. I think the business banking industry of this country is probably the most unfit for purpose industry in this country. And I would class even the shittest of local councils in that.
I think, let's say 5 years ago, one of the big talking points, and I haven't heard it lately, was part of the issue with UK adoption of automation was the expectation of ROI was too short in the UK, right? Oh, we all want it as 1 or 2 years. The Germans, they're happy with 5 years, and some, the Japanese are happy with 10 years. That piece of kit will be in your factory for 10 years making you money. Why not? And I haven't heard it in a while, but because I think the thing in the last few years, for us anyway, is our ROIs are like a year, 18 months, right? They're because you pick projects that you get that return on, right? And the costs have come down in a lot of places, right?
But I wish we were even at the ROI debate. I actually, and we spoke to a few podcasts, and you kind of, when you're speaking about something, it becomes more kind of you do a bit more research out your own world. Forget about ROIs at the moment. You as an SME, go and see what your maximum limit of leasing vans is. Fuck robots and stuff like that for a moment, right? And you watch, even with good turnover, how quickly you can't lease vans. I know it sounds daft, but sometimes all the SMEs that we want to support at Automate and we want to automate, they might just need a Mercedes Sprinter van, right? And that Mercedes Sprinter van would mean that they could sell to more places over the knackered thing they got at the moment, and they'd make a fuel saving, right? And there's not even the funding market. So before you even get into our industry, there's not even the funding model for that in manufacturing.
Yeah, and I think, and this is it, right? It's where you're in a position where they don't have the cash reserves. So they have to find funding from somewhere, and they're just it does not exist.
They don't.
And the fact is, even if, and this is a problem, even if you have an amazing solution that's going to get an ROI of under a year, it doesn't matter. It pays back in a year. You don't have the money now, so how do you get there? So it's a hard one for us. And what I don't know enough about, and this is how are other countries getting around this issue? Right? Is the funding easier to come across? In the States, I was not in the automation industry when I was in the States, so I don't know how they get across there.
The States is doing better, but it's probably, sadly, there's more developed countries in regression heading in our direction than us heading in their direction. The States would have a lot of banks, better than me, but you have a lot of banks that, even if they're the big banks, they work to the state. They're quite regional, and they're supportive of the industry in the regional areas, so recognise that. You've got a lot of countries which, obviously, the funding is governmental, and that's working really well. So Canada has an explosion of automation adoption at the moment, and it's government not funded but offset, things like reduction in taxation, and you know, the other thing is in Europe the banks are shit, but Europe's pretty good, you know, European Union, but we decided that wasn't for us, which is yeah. Do you want to go on a Brexit rant?
No.
Or does that kill viewers?
I don't think it kills viewers. I just think I'm worried that this podcast could be 3 hours long.
Well, okay, I'll leave it to that. If we hadn't had more people in 2016 who realised that we actually, if you look at technology, if we had more people in 2016 who had a reality of situation that we'd gone past the fucking Spitfire, and actually we did some cool stuff in other direction, we would have a better funded model because we would be of a bigger funding pot. I know there's other reasons why you did it, and the whole fundamental thing is if you ask a nation to vote to shoot the scapegoat, they're going to shoot the scapegoat. That's my interpretation of it. I'm not necessarily advocating going back into the European Union. As Automate UK, as a person, I think we bloody should do like now. Because most of the problems, we go back into the European Union, this podcast is over because most of the problems are solved, and that's good for everybody in many different ways.
Except me, because I'm now a full-time podcast host, as you said in other podcasts. Let's round up. This is the last question. What's the one thing UK manufacturers don't want to hear but need to?
That's, I'd say, an easy one. Honestly, I think it's the fact that if you're not automating or not improving efficiency, I'm going to even lump in traditional lean and other sort of methodologies, but automation is the thing that's going to get you the biggest bang for the buck. But if you're not, you are not going to be around in another 5 or 10. Those incremental losses are going to keep incrementally being lost, and you're going to end up in a position that you've got either no margin or no market. And if you're not doing something to push in the other direction, I think you're going to end up in a position where your business is non-existent.
Solid end.
Solid end.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
It's
you.
fun.